Change demands effort. Nothing improves without initiative. Waiting won't rewrite the future. Too often we find ourselves sitting in the passenger seat of our own lives, staring out the window and wondering why things aren't getting better. We tell ourselves, one day things will change. We dream about success, fulfillment, justice, happiness, whatever change we seek, but we keep waiting for that shift to come from somewhere outside of us. Maybe it'll come with time. Maybe someone will show up and do something. Maybe the right opportunity will land in our lap. Maybe we'll get lucky. But here's the raw truth. Change doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who act. The world doesn't bend for people who are comfortable. It bends for people who stand up, speak up, and put their energy behind what they believe in. If you're just hoping for life to get better while you sit still, you're going to be disappointed. Growth, transformation, impact, these things don't happen because the universe decided to do you a favor. They happen when you decide to show up and do the work. That's not always what people want to hear. It's easier to believe that change is something that happens to us instead of something that we're responsible for, because once you accept that you're responsible for creating the change you want to see in your life, in your mindset, in your environment, or in your community, then there's no one else to blame if you stay stuck. And that's scary. But it's also empowering, because it means you're not helpless. You don't have to wait on luck or fate or permission. You already have what it takes to make a difference. You just have to decide you're not willing to stay where you are. So think about anything in life that's ever improved: a relationship, a skill, a business, a body, a city, a movement. Behind every one of those changes was effort. Someone chose to push forward. Someone committed to doing what needed to be done, even when it wasn't convenient or easy or glamorous. Nothing grows without being stretched. Nothing improves without someone pouring time, energy, or care into it. Yes, taking action is uncomfortable. Change doesn't feel good in the beginning. In fact, it often feels awkward and painful. It takes discipline. It takes patience. It takes the willingness to fail and start again. But discomfort is the cost of transformation. If you're not willing to be uncomfortable, you're not ready to grow. The truth is, we live in a world where it's easy to talk and hard to do. We've gotten used to complaining about the system, about people, about how unfair life is, but very few are willing to actually step into the arena and try to fix it. We share quotes about change on social media. We talk about what should happen. We cheer when someone else does the work. But too often we avoid putting ourselves on the line. Why? Because effort is tiring. Because it requires commitment. Because it demands that we risk something. Time, pride, energy, failure. But those risks, they're the price for progress. And once you start to take action, you begin to see that change isn't some distant mystical force. It's something that builds with every small, intentional choice you make. You don't have to change the whole world overnight, but you can start by changing how you show up today. What conversations are you avoiding? What habits are holding you back? What goals have you put off for someday? What excuses have become part of your daily routine? These are the places where effort begins, not with grand gestures, but with consistent movement fueled by a refusal to accept the status quo. Understand this: your future is not waiting to be found, it's waiting to be built. Every single result you want is on the other side of effort. It's not about being the smartest or the strongest or the luckiest. It's about being the one who kept moving when others stopped. It's about choosing progress over comfort. So, if you're sitting there frustrated with how things are, ask yourself, what have I done to change them? If the answer is nothing, then you already know what the problem is. But if you can be honest about that, then you can also start fixing it. Start with what you have. Start where you are, start now. Effort doesn't guarantee success, but inaction guarantees nothing will ever change. And if you care, really care, about seeing a different reality for yourself or the people around you, then you must be willing to put your feet where your heart is. You want change? Good. Then get up, show up, and take action. Because no one else is going to do it for you. And the future you're hoping for, it's waiting on you. Action turns vision into reality. Dreams stay dormant until you take that first step. We all have visions, ideas that live in our minds and hearts, a picture of the life we want to live, the change we want to see, the legacy we want to leave. Maybe it's starting that business you've always imagined. Maybe it's standing up for a cause that speaks to your soul. Maybe it's simply building a better life for yourself and the people you love. But no matter how clear that vision is, if you don't act on it, it remains nothing more than a fantasy. The vision is the seed, but action is the water. Without it, nothing grows. You can dream about a better future all day, every day, but if you're not willing to move, to risk, to do, then that dream stays stuck in your mind, never crossing over into reality. That's the heartbreaking part about potential. It doesn't promise anything unless it's backed by action. You can be full of talent, full of ambition, full of ideas, and still end up going nowhere if you don't take steps forward. Action is the bridge between the idea and the impact. Without it, even the best intentions are just noise. And let's be real. Action is hard. Dreaming is comfortable. Planning is easy. Talking about what you're going to do gives you that quick rush of satisfaction without having to confront the fear, the resistance, the unknown that comes with actually doing it. That's why we love the dream stage. It feels good. It's safe. But nothing happens in that space. Think about it like this. The blueprint doesn't build the house. You can have a beautiful, intricate, million-dollar design drawn up by the best architects in the world, but until someone picks up a hammer and starts working, it's just paper. The same goes for your vision. It doesn't matter how vivid it is in your mind, until you take real steps, it's still just a wish. People often wait for the right moment to take action. They wait until they feel ready, until things are perfect, until fear goes away. But here's the secret. That moment never comes. Readiness isn't something you feel, it's something you build. Confidence comes from doing, from failing, from learning, from adjusting, and trying again. Every person you admire, every innovator, leader, creator, activist, they didn't get to where they are by dreaming about it endlessly. They got there by doing, by stepping into uncertainty, by being bold enough to act even when they were unsure, even when no one else believed in them yet. But they took a step and then another, and that's how dreams begin to come alive. You don't need to have the whole journey mapped out to begin. You just need a clear why and the courage to move. Start messy, start scared, start small, but just start. Because that first step, that's what breaks the pattern. That's what separates the people who talk from the people who build. That's what turns abstract vision into visible progress. It is. You might stumble, you might fall flat on your face, but even that is better than standing still. Because when you act, you learn, you grow, you begin to understand what works and what doesn't. Every action gives you feedback, and feedback sharpens vision. So don't let fear of imperfection paralyze you. Let it push you. Ask yourself this: what have you been seeing in your mind that you've been too afraid to bring into the world? What project, passion, or purpose have you kept on the shelf because you were waiting for the perfect plan or the perfect version of yourself? Understand this: your vision is valid, but it's only valuable when it's acted on. Talk is cheap, excuses are abundant, time is limited, and regret is what you get when you confuse potential with progress. So flip the switch. Stop just dreaming, start doing. Take one step. Open the document. Make the call. Show up at the gym. Launch the website. Join the movement. Write the first page. Speak your truth, whatever it is. Take that single, imperfect, brave step toward it today. Because every time you act, you shrink the gap between who you are and who you want to become. The world is changed by people who understand that action, not ideas, is what drives history forward. Your vision is the spark. Your action is the fire. And if you want to light something up in your life, your community, your generation, it starts when you stop waiting and start doing. Complaining isn't a strategy. You can't wish away problems. You solve them by doing. You can talk about your problems all day long, but unless you're taking action to change them, they're just going to sit there, growing, festering, becoming even more permanent. You can shout about what's broken. You can tweet about injustice. You can go on and on about how unfair things are, but talk without action is just noise. And noise doesn't move the needle. It doesn't shift culture. It doesn't change systems. It doesn't rebuild relationships. It doesn't launch businesses. It doesn't heal trauma. It doesn't build anything. Doing does. There's a difference between identifying a problem and choosing to actually fix it. Most people live in the first phase. They see everything that's wrong. They can analyze it, break it down, explain it in great detail, but that doesn't make them change makers. That makes them observers, spectators, critics on the sidelines, and the world is full of those. You know, it's rare people who take that frustration and turn it into fuel. People who say, I hate how this is, and I'm going to do something about it. Complaining can highlight an issue, but only action can heal it. And too many of us confuse being loud with being effective. Just because you feel deeply about a problem doesn't mean you've contributed to the solution. You don't get credit for being angry. You get credit for building, for fixing, for trying. Now, this doesn't mean your anger or your frustration isn't valid. Of course it is. There are a lot of things worth being upset about. There are a lot of things that should change. But the energy you put into being upset, into talking, tweeting, arguing, venting, what if you redirected that energy into actual steps forward? So the hard truth is complaining is often a disguise for fear. We stay stuck in the cycle of talking because it keeps us from doing. It's safer to point out flaws than to take responsibility for fixing them. Because action opens us up to failure, to criticism, to effort. And that's uncomfortable. But here's the trade-off. You either stay comfortable and stuck, or you get uncomfortable and move forward. There is no third option. If your strategy for change begins and ends with talk about it, you're not pursuing change. You're protecting your comfort. Real change makers don't waste energy whining about obstacles. They're too busy building ladders. And don't get it twisted, action doesn't have to be massive to be meaningful. Sometimes action is starting a conversation in your community. Sometimes it's making a plan. Sometimes it's putting your phone down and focusing on your craft. But whatever it is, it's movement, it's momentum, it's motion in the direction of something better. Imagine a firefighter standing in front of a burning building, pointing out how high the flames are, how poor the structure is, how badly the system failed, but never picking up a hose. That's what it's like to spend your life complaining without doing. You're just describing the fire, and guess what? It keeps burning. You weren't built to be a commentator, you were built to be a contributor. You were built to create change, not just notice the need for it. So take a look at your own life. The things you say you want to change, are you actually working toward them or just talking about them? Are you building or are you blaming? Are you growing or are you just grumbling?